Welcome back to the Your Everyday Strength podcast. My name is Josh Sternberg. And if you're just joining us here for the very first time today, thank you for being here. If you're returning, you already know the drill by now. If you don't, you haven't been paying close enough attention. But welcome back. Thank you very much for being here today. Today we have a very special guest. And I say every guest is special because they really are. Everybody brings something a little bit different to the table. Today we have none other than Riley Allsop. Now, I've sort of known Riley for a little bit now, and in the world of social media, it's super interesting because you kind of meet people without actually meeting them, and you kind of get to know them as a person. And I think Riley and myself have only really met each other twice, like two, 3 times in person. But from just everything he puts out online and the way in which I've met him in person as well, I was like, man, we got to get on a chat. I'll let him give himself an introduction, tell you who he is, what he does, and all the rest of it, and then we'll just fucking let it flow from there. So take it away, my man.
Right, my name's Riley Allsop. I'm a powerlifter from the northern beaches of Sydney. I'm also a personal trainer and a coach. I've been in the industry now for about 4 years, loving it, doing it. And I also love, having conversations with people, trying to bring the best out of people and be the person that someone else needed, I guess, when they're going through their own stuff. Simply, I don't know. I don't really talk about myself too much. It was a bit weird.
I know, it's hard, hey.
It's real hard, bro.
I'll get on and chat with people all the time. But then when it kind of comes to talking about myself, I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of just do stuff. I just exist. I just exist in life, and I started to get better at it because you kind of have to within this realm.
Yeah.
And I'm not too sure if it did get cut out in the first bit or not, but you have launched your own podcast as well.
Yes, I got my own podcast now, Looking Inwards. Biggest thing that I've learned throughout my years of, I guess, building my character and building myself is that developing self-awareness is, I think, one of the biggest things that someone else can do. And one of the mottos that I have, or one of the things that I love the most is that everyone has a story that someone else needs to hear. So with Looking Inwards, it's all about developing self-awareness, who you are in a certain space, what you're trying to achieve, what your goals are, what your ambitions are, and also just figuring out what it is that you truly want to do and pursuing that. I've read a couple books by Robert Greene, Mastery, trying to develop that. And I think that everyone has a little thing inside of them that they need to release, or they need to kind of look over and truly try and hard pursue that thing. So that's what Looking Inwards is about. It's developing that self-awareness, understanding what it is that you want to do, and also hearing other people's stories in order to gain more benefit for yourself to allow that to grow, whatever it is that is inside of you.
I think that in itself, that self-awareness is critical, and it's truly one of the things that changed the trajectory of my life. Is the more I've started to look internally, the more that has then been reflected externally into the world and into the way in which I interact with people around me, into the way people interact with me. And I'm sure it's probably very similar to yourself. As you start to go down this path, and I definitely want to dive into a little bit about you diving into this path yourself. As you go down this path, the more you learn, as with anything, the more you kind of realize you don't know. And then it kind of keeps unraveling as you go. So give us a little bit of an insight, because I know we just mentioned before we started recording that you've been out of school for about 5 years. So you're what, 24? 20, oh fuck, there we go. My maths is so bad. That's horrible. 22.
Yeah.
So at 22 years of age, what was it that has actually stemmed your journey down this path? Because that's fairly young. To be honest, your frontal lobe hasn't even developed yet. So you're on a pretty fucking good pathway without having that true full spectrum of mental awareness and mental capacity.
I think the catalyst of what actually happened was when I was younger, when I was at school, I didn't have the best relationship with my dad. And one of the things that I always seeked from that was validation. So I would always do things to put myself in a position to receive external validation. And this has only come from, I guess, reflection in the past year or 2 years of actually understanding what it was I wanted at that time. So when I was at school, I was selling drugs, I was selling vapes, I was kind of around the wrong crowd in that kind of moment in time. And I ended up getting kicked out of school, which for me was massive because I was at the same school from kinder to year 11. and I really wanted to graduate in year 12 at the same school, and I had all these big things that I wanted to do for it as well. But unfortunately, hang around with the wrong crowd, and I was doing the wrong things, and I ended up getting caught. And yeah, the principal, we had a chat, and he goes, "Yeah, I don't think this is the right school for you." So I was like, "Oh, well, hectic." So I got kicked out of year 11, going into year 12. So obviously there's 3 terms of year 11 and then 4 terms of year 12. So it was in that weird kind of gap. And I think one of the things that broke me the most was seeing my mum and dad just being super upset, or more my mum than anything. My mum was crying all the time. She goes, "Why did you do this?" But also she was just like, almost felt disappointed by the school, and she was just broken for me more than anything. So I went through kind of that experience, and I wouldn't say it was traumatic by any degree. It was definitely hard, but I think that was a catalyst of going, okay, cool. This is like my rock bottom, and this is what my rock bottom feels like. And my barber at the time, Carl, he really helped me understand what my self-awareness was and what it is that I was actually doing. I think for a long time I was kind of coasting through life in terms of just whatever the group wanted to do, I would do that. Or whatever someone was doing, I wanted to do that as well. And that's where that external validation came from, of having a kind of physically absent dad was what I needed in order for to feel like I'm like myself, if that makes sense. So that was the catalyst that started it all. And then I was just having conversations with my barber man, to be honest, about self-awareness, what he was going through, what I'm going through. And yeah, man, I remember one night I was just sitting in bed, and I was just like, what are you doing, bro? Like, what are you doing? And I think a lot of people that have realizations kind of have that one moment or one specific thing in time where they go, mate, you need to you just kind of look yourself in the mirror, and you don't like what you see. And, I was physically fit. I was playing basketball. I was training as well. And then I was like, all right, let's just try and do whatever we can. So we're in lockdown at school, and I think that's kind of where it all started. It was a very slow journey to get to where I am now in terms of the momentum that I had to build. The momentum was really slow at the start. I was just journaling a little bit, training hard, having conversations with male role models that I had in my life. And yeah, that kind of put me in the position now where I think, okay, cool, I've done enough development, I've done enough self-reflection of the position that I've been in to actually go and want to help other people with conversation with my own story.
That's just so young to have that realization. To be, 17, 18 years old, and to actually be able to sit with yourself enough. It shows good character, and it obviously shows that you said your parents, and although your dad was absent, your mum being the main sort of driver behind it, but it truly does show that you obviously had really fucking good people around you, because you could have gone one of two ways with that. And I'm sure you've seen it. I know I've seen it with people that I know and people that I went to school with. You can either take a moment of reflection and be like, all right, I need to change something and I need to be better. Or you go the other pathway and it's like, well, fuck it. This is my path now. This is the way in which I'm going to go. Having that barber there, honestly, probably saved you to a degree.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. He, Carl Lloyd, man, he did so much for me, bro. You can't put into words, as a young man, having a male role model, kind of, say, for example, you do look up to your dad, that's great. But, don't get me wrong, my dad's still in my life. He's not, separated with my mum or anything. There's nothing malicious there, but he was just working all the time. And he was always away for work. And I think as a young man growing up in the world, you need a male role model no matter what. I'm a big believer in getting taught discipline from your father, or getting taught discipline from a male role model, I should say. Getting taught how to treat women from a male role model in a good position as well. So I guess when you're going through troubling times and you don't have a male role model going through that, it is really hard to pull yourself out of, because I think as a whole, going through life, you have unteachable lessons, and you just have to go through those things in order to learn for yourself. Imagine having an unteachable lesson with someone that's been through that unteachable lesson to then help you with that conversation of going, oh, I was selling drugs and vapes. I did the same thing. What do I do? Here's what helped me. And I think living through experience of other people also makes a massive difference too. So, man, having male role models as a young man, no matter who it is, bro, it could be a teacher, it could be anyone. I'm honestly in awe, and I'm forever grateful and forever feel like I'm in debt to what he did for me as well.
Yeah, I think that in itself, very clearly that's put you on the path that you're now on, and it's put you down the pathway that sort of probably changed your life for the better. But allowing yourself to actually, don't take away from the work that you've very clearly done in yourself, to be able to sit there and reflect upon that and actually be like, okay, cool. I believe men need more male role models, and I completely wholeheartedly agree with you. I think that that's definitely something, especially in today's day and age, that's, I wouldn't say lacking, because very clearly there are males out there, and I'm very fortunate as well. I've had some incredible role models over my journey, and people who have very, very similar story to yourself changed my life for the better because they've been through the same shit, or they know how to help in ways that, you know, you can't learn from reading. You can't learn from watching a YouTube video or fucking hanging out with the same people that are still doing the same shit that you've always been doing. You need that experience, and you need that experience to come from somebody who you trust, who you admire. And I think sometimes too, it's that person will hold a mirror up to you and be like, you need to pull your fucking head in. Like, is this really the path you want, or do you want better for yourself? Is this where you want to go, or do you want to go down a pathway where it's actually going to help other people in the long run?
Of course. And I think coming to that realization of I need to make change happen is good, but I also think that people don't want it enough. I've had conversations, say for example, with clients, and I'm sure you've had the same thing of like, hey, I'm here to make your life better. You know, you have goals to do with your body weight that you want to lose. You want to gain more strength as well. You want to be able to run around with your kids, and you want to do this and that. And if we take the context, say for example, out of my story now, and we put it into just an example, you have to want it as well. You can be stuck with the decision of, okay, cool, I have this path to go down, which could lead to chronic health disease. This could lead to injury when I'm older. It could also lead to so many other health complications. Or I could be healthy. I could be X, Y, and Z. All these amazing, great things. And you know, we got a fork in the road of, okay, you need to make a decision now. Same thing that happened to me when I was making my decision. It's like, I wanted to change. I wanted change to happen desperately. But I think now we live in such a world of comfort, of complacency, of distraction, of all these things that kind of take us away from the potential that we can live. And that's when change doesn't happen. And that's when people get comfortable. And that's when people don't want to pursue the goals they may have, or actually action the thing that they're talking about to their friends. And I always think, like, mate, what if you just did it? Like, what if you just did the bare minimum that you needed to do in order to get a little bit higher on the goals that you wanted to achieve, or towards that goal you wanted to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, like comfort is the biggest killer of so many dreams. And a lot of people do, I find it's less comfort and more complacency. They kind of accept where they're in. They accept, oh, okay, well, you know, these are the cards I've been dealt. I don't really know another path. I don't know another direction. And you're exactly right. Like, I've had some really fucking tough conversations with clients, and I'm like, man, at the end of the day, you are the only person who can actually make this change. I can teach you, I can guide you, I can give you the framework, I can tell you how it's helped me, I can show you how it's helped others. But that's not going to get you out of bed at 4 o'clock when your alarm goes off. That's not going to get you to, and we'll use the example of training and nutrition, that's not going to get you to go to the gym 4 days a week. That's not going to get you to track your calories and make sure you're getting enough sleep and all the rest of it. At the end of the day, that's going to come down to you. You need to make that decision to do that every single day. When it's easy, when it's hard, when you're feeling good, when you're feeling bad. And that's really the only path forward.
I think what I see a lot of as well is that if people, say for example, are going down their road of making change happen, like, amazing. I'm here for it. I want you to make change happen. I want you to be better and do better. But what I'm seeing now is that as soon as there's a little pothole in the road, everything goes out the window. You know, say for example, they are training and they're training really well, and they might have a little niggle in their shoulder. Training's done for the week. I'm not training for the rest of the week. I'm injured. Or we're going out for dinner and, I had a chip. I'm just going to blow out and completely eat everything. And I always think as well, like, what is the minimum amount of excuse you need to have for yourself to not go to that next step? Or whenever there's the slightest uprise of uncomfortability, why do you just completely buckle and fall under pressure? What is it about that? I've always been taught, bro, from the videos I watch and my algorithm and all that's being uploaded on Instagram and YouTube, is that I think more people need to lean into being uncomfortable. We live in such a world of, I think comfort's good sometimes, especially if you've done something physical, if you've done something taxing, yes. Comfort is a good place, but being complacent, like you just said, is what is really affecting a lot of the people that I see around me. Not, I guess, in my circle, but more the people that I'm coaching, is that they have such a complacency of, this is my life now, it's not going to get any better. How many times I've said, your life after 30, everything goes bad. And you're complaining and you're living the words that you say to yourself, even though they're not true. And I look at that and I just go, man, I don't get it. I seriously don't get it. And it could be my age, it could be my frontal lobe or this and that, but man.
Nah, you're 100% right, dude, because like even now, as I said, we briefly talked about it before we started recording, but I'm turning 30 this year. I'm 3 months off of 30. And the amount of conversations I've had with people who are like, oh, well, your best years are behind you. It's all downhill from here. It's all like this. Now you have to settle down and you're going to have bills and a mortgage. And I'm like, man, I'm barely getting warmed up. I am now at a position where when we're young, the age old saying of like, when you're young, you have time and energy, but no money. And then as you get older, you start to get you start to get money, but then you start to lose time and energy goes away. And it's like this weird circle. And I'm like, no, like you can still have all of those things. It's just exactly what you said. You're telling yourself this certain narrative. And this is something I want to go a bit deeper in, because I know you've read a lot about it and I know you've done a lot of work around it. But the words we tell ourselves are so powerful that we truly will start to believe whatever we tell ourselves. If we tell ourselves something's going to be hard, you fucking bet your bottom dollar it's going to be hard. If you tell yourself that you're not going to make it through something, sure as shit, you're not going to make it through. But if you give yourself a little glimmer of hope, if you say that like, it's hard now, but it won't always be. I might struggle for a little bit, but I won't always. That's the shift. And that's where a lot of people, they don't have an ability to overcome adversity. They lack resilience in the face of anything even slightly difficult. As you said, with the example of a chip, they use that one chip to blow out for an entire weekend.
Yeah.
It's like, man, if you flip the script and instead of looking at it like that, you're like, fuck, I went and had a great meal with friends, had a great time, really enjoyed myself, was back on track the next morning. It's a massive shift.
That's fine. Yeah.
But it's that language.
Yes, it's the language. So I read a book maybe 2 years ago called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. And by no
Great
means
book
am
if you
I
haven't read it.
like a spiritual type guy. I might read into it a little bit, but I have my beliefs. More than ever now am I realizing that if I say I can't do anything, or what the book kind of entails, let me backpedal a little bit. What the book entails is that whatever you say to yourself is pretty much true, right? So there was a section of the book, it's a couple of years ago now, so I might be a bit hazy with it. But imagine your conscious mind, or the mind that is currently being used when you do day-to-day activities, as the seed, right? Your subconscious mind is the water that waters the seed. So if you say to yourself, I can't deadlift 200 kilos, and we are going into an event where you're deadlifting 200 kilos as the example, you've planted that seed, and now your subconscious mind constantly thinks about watering the seed of not being able to do that thing. Now, your example could be anything, right? Your example could be, I can't seem to lose this weight. Okay, cool. You've planted the seed in your head now going, I can't lose weight. Now your subconscious mind is there telling you can't lose weight, you can't lose weight, you can't lose weight. And that's not necessarily a scientific backing of your weight won't be lost, but it's a thing to yourself saying, I can't lose weight. So you then go out and snack, and then you go out and splurge on meals. You go out and have a couple more drinks, or you do things that lead to your weight gain. You don't train, you don't go and do daily movement. So it's not a roadblock necessarily that's preventing you from losing weight. It is the things and the actions you are doing to not allow yourself for the weight to be lost. You're saying to yourself, I can't lose weight. Your conscious mind's now telling you, your subconscious mind's now watering that plant for you, so you know you're not going to lose that weight. And then I think from that, it just falls into a completely victim mindset as well. I always think to myself, if I was in a position of me being unhappy with my body, why wouldn't I want to make change happen? And I would start to plant seeds of going, I want to lose weight, I want to do this, I want to do that, and speaking to myself in a positive light. And I'd have my subconscious mind, now knowing about it and being aware of it, watering those plants without me actively trying to do the thing all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, the subconscious mind is probably one of the most powerful things that people don't actually read into, they don't learn enough about, and we're definitely not taught enough about it, because I am actually quite spiritually leaning. I am very heavy into spirituality and all of that sort of stuff. You know, people call me a bit woo-woo from time to time, but I have found that you almost have to be a little bit woo-woo, a little bit delusional to override the just embedded beliefs that is not even our own half the time. It's given to us by other people. So we could look at it either financially, with training, with life in general. We're given these beliefs from a very, very young age. And a lot of people don't understand that a lot of our beliefs, our visions, our goals, our dreams are all inspired by who we are as children. Now, our subconscious mind controls probably about 90% of our thought processes without us even thinking about it. And if anybody wants to, challenge that, when was the last time you thought about breathing? When was the last time you thought about anything to do, like pumping your blood through your body? You don't think about that stuff. It's all coming from the subconscious. What we have a tendency to do is we think, okay, well, I'm just going to consciously tell myself this. But if you haven't actually done any work to go a little bit deeper and see what is the embedded belief that your subconscious is actually telling you, and trying to work on that, because at the end of the day, when you start to tell yourself, I can't lose weight, or I can't deadlift 200 kilos, or whatever your example might be, your subconscious will then start to move every piece inside of you to match that frequency, to match that thought process. And you'll be proven right. You will snack, you will binge, you will skip a session, or you won't do your warm up, or you'll fucking go and overshoot and then injure yourself. And it's like, well, now I can't deadlift 200. It's like, yep, because you've told yourself that. And that's where a lot of people just get lost in what their brain is telling them versus what they truly believe.
And so much of it as well is from now, especially social media. A lot of this, I guess, telling yourself you can't do that is due to a form of inaction. Now, I did a piece of writing the other day about inaction, and I've always seen it as the reason why inaction happens, why you don't pursue certain goals, is that you have this massive mountain in front of you. Say, for example, you need to lose the 30 kilos, or you want to deadlift 200 or 300 kilos, and you see this massive thing, and you see someone else that's already there. So now you're comparing to that person as well. You have a mountain that you want to accomplish, and you see someone already at the top of their mountain. You go, why would I bother? Why would I bother doing that thing? Because someone's already done it. Plus, it looks really hard. And when we have social media around us, and we have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and we see people that are, say, for example, myself, I'm 22, 100 kilos. Some bloke over in UK is deadlifting 400 kilos. Why would I want to lift? Or I see Kiva deadlifting 300 kilos conventional at 82.5 kilo body weight. It's like, why would I want to go and train when someone's already doing that thing? And when we have, I guess, to tie it in with the subconscious mind, we have all these things that we're constantly being stimulated with, of people that are doing better than us financially. They might know more, they might have bigger knowledge, or they're stronger than us, they're losing more weight, they're doing all these things. When we ingest that, obviously it goes into our subconscious mind, comes into our conscious, and then we ferment on it, and then it leads to an action because we see this mountain and we're comparing and whatnot. And I think to help with the understanding of using the subconscious mind to your power, and also staying in your own lane more than anything. So with that, if we see ourselves not achieving our certain goals because it seems too big and it leads to inaction, you just got to understand that you're in your own lane. No one else is going to come into your lane. You're running your own race. Jordan Peterson says it the best. Compare yourself to where you were yesterday, not where someone else is today. And I love that quote. It's one of my favorite quotes. I've harped on it so much in the pod with clients and everything like that. I think with the subconscious mind, we see someone that is in a position that we want to be in. We go, that person's in that position. Oh, why aren't I in that position? Oh, I can't lose weight because of this. And then it spirals and your negative thoughts start to gain momentum. Flip it. If you have a reason to be negative, why not have a reason to be positive?
Yep.
The brain always naturally thinks about the path The brain wants the path of least resistance. It wants the easiest thing, and we know that. So if you have time to think about negative thoughts and complain, you have the same capability to think about positive thoughts and put yourself in a better position.
Yeah. One of the biggest shifts I've seen from myself personally, and then furthermore than, teaching this to others, teaching this to clients, having conversations, is taking the world of social media as we see it today. We're never going to escape it now. Unfortunately, for the rest of our lives, it's only going to get, you could look at it as either worse or better. Taking what you see, and instead of having that mindset around like, oh, well, they're doing it, like, why can't I? And all this, it's like, no. If they're doing it, so can I. If that person has achieved that goal, why the fuck can't I do it? That person's made $1 million coaching. I can make $1 million coaching. What is it that they have that I don't? And then when you actually sit there and you start to flip the script from that negative mindset of like listing the things you don't have, start to list the things you do have. And I can guarantee you right there and then, you will start to build that belief. But then you need to actually compound that with work. It's not enough to actually sit there and be like, oh, well, that person's just done this because they're lucky or they're able to do that. It's like, okay, well, but what has that person done, for example? And I use Kiva as an example all the time because I'll have clients, I'll have people come to me, I'll have people ask me, they're like, how's he so strong? And I'm like, he's the most meticulous person I've ever met in my life. His sleep is dialed in, his food is dialed in, his warm up, his fucking pre-lifting routine. If anybody has seen him warm up, he sets for a 70 kilo barbell the same way he sets for a 300 kilo barbell. There is no difference in his setup whatsoever.
No difference.
In any of it. He will do the exact same thing. The other night we came back from the footy. It was a Monday night. He'd been away in Tasmania for a week. Come back from holidays, we went straight to the footy. Monday night, 6:30 p.m. or 20 to 7 or something like that. I was like, oh yeah, sweet dude, like what are you doing? Like, you're just gonna go to bed when we get home? He's like, no, I'm gonna go food shopping and I'm gonna meal prep. I just wanna make sure I'm set for the week ahead. And I just looked at him and I was like, you know what? Fair fucking play. Because the amount of people that would look at that and be like, it's 7 o'clock, I'm tired, I wanna go to bed. All of a sudden they're like, oh, well, I don't have the time to do these things. It's like, well, no, you do. It's just a choice you're making to not do that thing.
A common thing I think about is that if someone has a goal that you want to achieve, whatever it may be, no examples, just if you see someone in a position that you want to be in, I would look at their life and go, okay, cool. Would I or could I do everything that person is doing now? Say, for example, for me, I want to eventually deadlift 300 kilos. I'm getting pretty close, right? I want to do all these things to be stronger. And, to look at, say, for example, what Kiva's doing of, okay, cool, he got home from Tasmania or the footy, he's going out food shopping, then he's going to go meal prep, he's sleeping X, Y, and Z, he's doing this. I think one great way in order to actually understand what your goals are is that you should look at a person in a position that you want to be in and understand this is everything I need to do in order to be in that position as well. Say, for example, it's the easiest one. You want to lose weight, right? You got 30 kilos of weight to lose. Let me look at a person that's done that, that's lost the 30 kilos of weight. They were tracking their meals. They were training 4 days a week. They were getting 8,000 to 10,000 steps in every single day. They were making sure they were on point with their food. Okay, great. That's the position that you need to be in order for you to lose your 30 kilos. Once again, we see this big mountain of inaction because, someone's in that position. Okay, cool. Let's start from the first actionable step that we can do in order for us to get to that.
Correct. One of the biggest quotes, or one of my favorite quotes, and I had to quickly search it to make sure I didn't fuck it up, was Matthew McConaughey on Modern Wisdom, and he said, model the rise, not the result.
Bang.
Too often people are caught up in what someone else has achieved, or they are caught up in, even in their own goals. They're caught up, okay, well, I've got 30 kilos to lose. That's a fucking lot of weight. But exactly that. How would someone lose 30 kilos? Well, they would backtrack. They'd go all the way back to the very bottom level. Okay, well, what am I doing right now? Well, I'm not training. I'm not tracking my food. I'm not getting any steps per day. Sweet. What's the lowest hanging fruit? Bang, bang, bang. Cool. Do that. It now compounds. You mentioned before that negative thoughts, they compound, as do positive thoughts. Negative actions compound, as do positive actions. You get to make the decision as to what that is. And that's not to say that every day is going to be fucking perfect and you're going to nail it every single day, but I can guarantee you right now, and one of my favorite things that I like to tell people is never lose 2 days in a row. So when you set yourself tasks and you set yourself goals, never allow yourself to lose 2 days in a row, because then that starts to become a habit and that starts to compound in the other direction. You can lose a day. You might eat out with friends. You might not track food. There could be a cyclone that hits and you don't get your steps. That's okay. Shit happens. But I can guarantee you right now that if you do the right thing, or the things that you know you're meant to be doing for an extended period of time, and you show up and you continue to show up for yourself, because at the end of the day, that's the only person you're showing up for. Showing up for yourself then allows you to show up better for others. But once you show up for yourself and you start to build that momentum and you start to build that little bit of self-belief and you start to build that confidence that you can do hard shit and you can overcome adversity and you can be resilient, all of a sudden you're motivated. Now motivation, you've built discipline. Now motivation's coming as a byproduct and you're like, well, fuck, I can do this. I want to do this. I want to continue to do this. Like, that's where so many people just get caught up in. They get lost. They get lost in the thick of it.
They get lost in their negative thoughts. I think it's so easy just to think negatively as well. When we say, for example, have conversations with people about people, I know everyone's fallen victim to it. It's so much easier to talk shit about someone than it is to talk about them in a positive light. And the same thing when it comes to yourself. It's so much easier to create a bed of lies or a bed of excuses for yourself to lay in, rather than to hold yourself accountable in order to get to the next step and the next actionable task or thing that you want to achieve. And, you know, it goes both ways. If you want to build momentum about doing something, you know, weight loss, strength gain, build a business, positive thoughts and positive momentum will get you there. If you have a victim mindset and you don't want to do these things and you think negatively towards yourself, once again, those momentums will build towards that negative shift.
Yeah, correct. And it's just a matter of identifying what it is exactly you want to be doing, how other people around you may have achieved that in the past, or even from the other end of the spectrum. Like, we could probably utilize our, teenage years as wanting to be different because of the people around us, not wanting to model their behavior, not wanting to do the same things they're doing, because you can understand that the path they're potentially on is not the path you want to be on. I grew up in Townsville and I moved out of home at 17 years old, a month after I graduated school, purely because I knew from even that age, I was like, I need to get away from Townsville because I know that long term it's not going to benefit me. And I moved down to the Gold Coast at 17 on my own, completely out of home, fucking had nothing really, and built myself a life because I'd identified from a very young age that who I wanted to be wasn't necessarily the type of people that I was surrounding myself with. And again, I could have very easily just been caught up in it, being like, oh, well, this is my circumstances, so this is the cards I've been dealt. I'm just going to run with this. And it's
so easy. It's so easy, man. It's so easy to fall into a negative loop of self-doubt, negative thoughts. Even myself, I had a massive problem with doom scrolling and being on my phone, and I would say, for example, scroll for an hour and a half or 2 hours and look at I'd put my phone away and go, are you fucking stupid? Like, what are you doing right now? And that in itself, the negative talk that I would have of myself of, you're an idiot, why are you doing that? You're fucking stupid. I would then go, all right, cool, I'm just going to pick up my phone again because I'm incapable of actually doing something that I want to achieve. And now I've gone to a point where it's actually too hard for me to do that thing. And yeah, like you said, as soon as we take ourselves out of the I guess verbally, if we take ourselves out of and we plant a seed and we use the subconscious mind of, I want to get better at not using my phone as much. You say that to yourself, you say it out loud, you journal it, you make it true, you plant the seed, then everything in your subconscious mind will let that flow and water that seed as well. And to be able to, I guess, once again, have the realization of, I need to make change happen. You need to verbalize it. You need to journal it. You need to write about it. You need to plant the seed in order for it to grow.
Correct. Yeah, I want to touch on there because you've mentioned it a couple of times now with relation to journaling, and you've said you've been doing it from a young age. Journaling is something I love, something I do every single day. It's something that I think has a little bit of a misconception around it because a lot of people will sit there, and if I tell, some people, and I still find myself to this day not hesitant to tell people I journal because I'm very open and honest about it all. But sometimes it's like the misconception of like, oh, so you sit there and go, dear diary, today, and I'm like, nah, man. Like there will be some days where I will write pages, and there'll be some days where I write one fucking sentence, and it's all dependent upon what is going on in that moment. So give us a little bit of an insight into your journey with journaling, but then also how you kind of utilize it and what you use it for.
Man, I started journaling back in 2020. So I was 16 when I started journaling, which was a while ago. I said to my mum, it was really weird. I was like, Mum, I think I want to start journaling. She goes, so for Christmas, she bought me a journal and I wrote about it. And what journaling allows you to do is put a situation that happened in past tense or is happening in future tense, and you're able to express it down on a piece of paper. With journaling, I always believe you want to be as selfish as possible and write about yourself. So yeah, when I started journaling, it was about, honestly, man, just about experiences that I had and how it made me felt in that time. And little did I know is that was kind of what started the first journey or first step for my self-awareness and understanding who I am and what it is that I'm doing through certain situations. So 2020 was when I wrote down my first page, and I still got it. I still got it now. And then I took a bit of a hiatus from it. Then I picked it back up again in 2020. 2022 I started doing it again. And that was after the shift that I had of, okay, cool, this is what I want to do. And I remember when I was journaling earlier, previously to that time, I knew the feelings that I had with journaling as well. So I got back into it 2022, and then 2024, I journaled every day for the year, which was one of the things I wanted to do. And man, to be honest, bro, to be able to have a physical thing of what you wrote from brain, from hand to paper, and have that kind of mammal-like type thing of doing something with your hands from the brain, I find that quite therapeutic. But in terms of how it helped me, man, like I would go through certain experiences that I didn't like, or I'd go through a certain relationship that I knew wasn't great for me, and I'd put everything onto a piece of paper, and you kind of explain to yourself how you're feeling, the emotions that you have, but you also just gain another perception, and you can think more deeply about that topic. One of the things that I think people don't do enough of is think deeply. I truly don't think that people allow themselves to go into their own brain, and I always say, imagine your brain being like a library you're yet to read the books of. When we journal, say for example, that's like us reading a book. There's a certain thing that happened and now we have it in our brain. Okay, cool. We're opening up that book now and writing it. We're thinking about that thing. So with the journaling aspect and what that did for me, man, it completely put me in another path and a different trajectory as well, in order to learn more about myself, figuring out what it is what I wanted to do, and also just put more time and deep thought into certain situations, what things meant, and to grow and to learn from those experiences as well.
Yeah. One thing I found with journaling myself is you can't hide. You actually can't hide when you start to journal, because oftentimes, and I say this to so many people, that when they're like, how do I start? I'm like, honestly, it's going to be so different for anyone. If you just want to start with a couple of dot points about your day, good, bad, indifferent, a situation, or you want to sit there and just whatever comes to your brain, you just write. I have found when I've been struggling and when I've either been going through good times or bad times, if there's ever a time when I'm sitting there and I'm just staring at a page and I'm like, fuck, what do I write? I will sometimes write, man, I don't know what to write right now. And then all of a sudden, it's like this floodgates open, and subconsciously, your brain's like, no, we've got a lot of things to talk about. We've got a lot of things to say. And you just let it write. And I love the thing that you said about treating journaling as a very selfish endeavor, because I think that is exactly what it should be. Oftentimes, we get caught up in what's going on around us, what is happening, what people are doing, what someone has done to us. And instead of sitting there and trying to break down what someone else has done to us, if we sit and go a little bit deeper and go, well, why has what this person done affected me so much? because everything at the end of the day is an internal projection to the external. Our perception of what someone has done or why they've done it stems from our own internal projections on that particular situation or scenario. We're pretty much never going to know the exact reasons why other human beings have done things. All we can sit and understand is why we have perceived it the way we have, why we have either been offended by it, why it has hurt us, what is it telling us internally. You know, something that we sort of talked about before with relation to like people is chatting shit about people. One thing that I've tried to shift over the years is like, if I have a need or a thought process to chat shit about someone, what is it about that person that subconsciously I see in myself? What is it that they're doing? Whether that might be their, you know, you call them cocky or egotistical. It's like, well, what is it actually telling you about yourself? What do you need to sit with? And from there, it's just thinking. I think you fucking nailed it about thinking. People don't think. They don't think deeply.
They don't. And one of the things I'm massive on is that we live in a culture of distraction, no matter what that could be. The most simple thing that we can think of when we think about distraction is our phones, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, the constant stimulation of videos that we have. Say, for example, we're on YouTube and we're just eating our food. There's a distraction right there, right? You're not allowing yourself to think about the day that you've had just by a simple task of eating your food. When we're, say, for example, doing the dishwasher, doing the laundry, we have music on in the background as well. We're not in thought again. When we're driving, obviously you want to listen to some music or podcast or whatnot. You're still not thinking. There's no deep thought that allows you to it's a weird, transcend, I guess, or just elaborate on certain thoughts that you have. There's no time in the day for you to think about yourself. And that's not to say that you need to just not think about yourself or not think about any other people and only ever think about yourself. No, like think about other people, of course. But the deep thought component of actually allowing yourself to think is so far gone, man. You know, we drive down the road, say for example, and we have no music on. We have advertisements. We got buses that are driving with the new movie that's coming out, and the culture of distraction that we have that prevents us from having deep thought is for me terrifying, because one of the things that I've tried to do, even with living in this culture of distraction, is just think very much about myself and what it is that I wanted to do. So I'll put things in place. Okay, cool. For 20 minutes of today, I'm having nothing on. I'm laying flat in my floor, looking at the roof with no music and no nothing. And I'm just going to let my thoughts flow freely, right? It's not that I'm going to have a specific thing that I want to think about and deeply think about those things. So allowing yourself to have the deep thought, or to just even think about yourself for a minute without having all these distractions in place is man, very, very powerful once you're able to open up that door. And for some people, of course, opening up that door is scary. We might have trauma. We might have demons that we don't want to face. But once we open the door and we realize that, okay, cool, this big thing, this big monster that we thought was inside of our head just needed some more time and attention in order to make it feel comfortable in a sense.
Yeah.
It's just, deep thought is something I'm very passionate about because it's helped me so much. And I want people to experience deep thought with everything that we have in front of us.
I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. A couple of years back, I did a podcast, and one of the things that we were discussing was people can't be alone. And on that podcast, I said, the reason people can't be alone is because they feel lonely because they're so scared to be with their own thoughts. They can't physically be with their own thoughts. And it's exactly that. You might get a 20-minute window where you could sit and just allow your thoughts to be whatever they need to be. But instead, we fill it with all of these distractions, TikTok, Instagram, music, whatever. And by taking that actual time to yourself, and I do very, very similar. There'll be times where I'll just quite literally lay on the floor, stare at the roof. I'll sit in I've got these chairs now in my office/podcast room, and I will just quite literally, I'll take myself away from my desk and I just sit in the chair. And someone who walks in, they might think, what the fuck is this dude doing? Because he looks like I'm just sitting, it's just me in my room, like by myself, just sitting.
Yeah.
And it's not just sitting, just relaxing. Because I've seen the power of doing that. I went through a massive phase through about 3/4 of the way last year where I'd read a book called The Fourth Pillar. If you haven't read it, it's fucking phenomenal. It's an ex-SAS soldier from Australia who's now a psychiatrist and works with sports psychology and all the rest of it. And he says that the missing pillar in life is philosophy and thinking and the actual art of deep thinking and how to process your own emotions and process your own thoughts, feelings, etc. And he said, next time you're in the car, turn the music off and just drive. And it's something I've kind of I've gone away from a little bit, but that's because I actively set aside other time per day to sit and think and allow myself. But there'll be times where I'll quite literally be driving, and if I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed or I find that my mind is racing, I turn off the music and I will just drive. And whatever thoughts come to my mind within that drive, I tell myself are the ones that have been suppressed and that they need more light brought to them. And then oftentimes I'm very big on voice to text, so I'll just be driving along, and once you start to being able to articulate your thoughts, I'll just hit my little Siri button and be like, Siri, write a note. Brain dump everything that's come to my mind through that thought process. And then when I get home later and actually have some time to sit with it a little bit longer and actually dive through that, I have found so many breakthroughs mentally, emotionally, spiritually through that one act alone. But that's because I've allowed myself the time to do that.
Yeah, and to put it even at the most simple of simple contexts is just be bored. Be bored for a little bit.
People can't be bored.
Just be bored. You know, when we were kids, we'd go, I'm so bored. And then your mum would go, your dad would go, oh, we'll do something about it. And then you create this whole creative aspect of playing with your toys or going out and kicking the footy or playing tennis or hitting the ball, or hitting golf balls through windows or whatever it may be. But I guess when we look at it from a creative standpoint as well, if we kind of flip it again, being bored allows you to have those creative thoughts and be almost childlike. Robert Greene, I'm going to bring him up again. He's one of my favorite authors in the world. And he goes, you need to have a childish energy about you in this world. You need to have the thoughts of a child when it comes to creativity. You need to act like a children to keep youth when you're growing older. I think that's why, when people are grandparents, they love that childlike energy because for so long they needed to be the adult. They needed to be the person in power per se to go, okay, I need to be this reliable person for these people. So when we think about a culture of distraction and deep thought, just get bored. Man, sit down in your room and not have any stimulation for 10 minutes and just be bored and see what creative components come from that. And, it's going to be might be a tough, daunting task. And don't get me wrong, I remember the first time that I opened up the page for my journal when I was journaling, it was really, really hard. I got this quote here, I just pulled it up, and I wanted to talk about it. And I think sometimes people misunderstand or that they don't understand what journaling is about. And this is the quote. You're performing for an audience that doesn't exist. Journaling isn't about creating something impressive, but by being honest to yourself. And I think a lot of the times when people think about journaling, and I know for myself that when I come to the paper, I'm thinking about, well, when I struggle to write pen to paper, I go, I'm not doing this for anyone else. Like I'm literally, no one's going to read this. No one's going to understand what I'm saying. I'm just going to put pen to paper for myself and figure out what the fuck is going on with my head.
Yeah, I think that is, that's a fucking awesome quote. I love that. I resonate with it. It's something that's really hard because as a society, we have a tendency to overcomplicate what's going on in our own head, and we also think that everybody thinks about us as much as we think about ourselves.
No one cares about you, bro.
In the nicest way possible. Nobody gives a fuck because we're all having the same internal conversations. We're having the same internal battles. And like, I know you went to Chris Williamson Live a few weeks back as well. I did. I'm sure he did a very, very similar activity with you guys. He made the entire audience when I was there sit, close our eyes, deep breaths, get into a bit of a meditative state. And all he said was he just wants everyone to keep their eyes closed and put your hand up if you agree with some of the statements. And some of the things he said, I was like, I put my hand up for nearly every single thing. And I was like, fuck, if I'd admitted that in a crowd of people, I would think people would judge me. They think I'm crazy. They think I'm fucking losing my mind, whatever the case might be. And the reality of the situation was, when we all came back to the room and opened our eyes and all the rest of it, he said that about 95% of people put their hand up for every single one. And it was in that moment that I genuinely just sat there and I was like, fuck, we're really not actually that dissimilar. Something else he said during that talk was, there's no such thing as adults.
No.
And
yeah.
It's so funny because for years, if I had heard somebody turn around to me when I was 15 and they said, I'm 30 or I'm 29, I'd be like, holy shit, you're an adult. You got your life sorted out. You know exactly what you're doing and all the rest of it. And I'm still figuring life out and I'm turning 30 now. The example you used just before of grandparents and how now all of a sudden grandparents love having their grandchildren around because they get to have that youthful energy, they get to have the playtime, they get to have the fun that they felt like they haven't necessarily got to have for quite a few years because they had to adult. It's like, at the end of the day, we're all just figuring shit out. No one has the answers. And the more we realize that, and the more we take people off of these pedestals that we put them on, and we realize that everybody's actually just dealing with their own shit, going through their own brains, the more we can release a little bit of pressure on ourselves that we just don't have to have it all figured out.
There's a barbershop here on the Northern Beaches called Sonder, and that's where my barber was, and that's where I went for a really long time. And Sonder is, by definition, is that every person you pass by is living a life as unique as your own. Mm-hmm. And like that example you just said, everyone's dealing with different shit, but also everyone's going through the same stuff. You know, so for example, we take this event of fuel being expensive. You might feel like an individual when you go to the Bowser and fill up your fuel tank. Everyone else is feeling that exact same fucking thing, and it's almost like there's loneliness in community, and when you realize that people are just going through the same thing as you, and people don't really know what's going on, and people are just also, they have no idea. And, you know, say for example, we might have a little bit of an edge because we do journal and we have a little bit of self-awareness. Great. We still have no idea. No one really knows what's going on. So being able to...
I said it at the start.
Yeah. Being able to...
I said it at the start,
You go, sorry.
I was just going to say, I said at the start, that's like we all, like, no one has any idea what's going on. We're all just figuring shit out as we go. And the more you do start to realize that, the less burden you sort of place on yourself. And even using that fuel as an example, and we've spoken about, you know, reframing from a negative to a positive mindset. We could sit here and we could all get upset about the fuel, and we could all get upset because it's expensive at the moment and all the rest of it. And by no means am I downplaying the effect that this can absolutely have on some people from a financial perspective. I feel for anybody who is already struggling and then has been hit with extra bills like this and things like that. Like, by no means am I downplaying that. I've tried to shift my mind from, oh, well, fuck, fuel's expensive, blah, 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 it's going to cost me more, to fuel might be expensive, but it allows me to go and do the things I do. It allows me to get to the beach. It allows me to go to the gym. It allows me to go and see my friends. It allows me to go to events. Yes, it's more expensive at the moment, but it still allows me to go and do all of these things that bring me immense happiness. And now I'm just like, okay, it's just something we have to do. There's no point getting angry or upset about it because that's not going to change anything.
And when I spoke about people complaining as well, it's like people complaining about the fuel's expensive. Okay, cool. What are you going to do? You know, you got... It's not to say that your situation is not as bad as someone else's, but, you know, where I live on the Northern Beaches in Sydney, we're pretty well off. We are extremely lucky, bro. We have the best place in the world, right? And you're complaining about the fuel being expensive, but yet you got a family that can't afford their daughter's birthday presents because they have to pay for their fuel tank in order to get their father, that's the main income earner, to work. And to take that kind of perspective, I always think, you know, the perspective that you have on everything is so vital. So when I see people that are in a really good position complaining about something that is inadequate to some degree, like, I'm building my renovations on my house and it starts raining. bro, like find a bigger problem. Just find a bigger
Yeah.
problem. And I'm seeing that a lot now with I think more awareness around people just having general conversations. And I know that when I talk negatively about something or I'm complaining about something, it really does affect how I perceive certain situations and also the conversations that I have with people. Once I became more aware of people talking about negative things or complaining about certain things, as soon as that happens, I take myself away out of the conversation. And man, like, we're all going through it, and no one knows what they're doing. And what I was going to say before is that imagine we just took a childlike mentality of not knowing what to do. What if we just wanted to explore that certain thing and not be scared of it? What if we wanted to just ask questions about it? There was I think
Stay curious.
Yeah, I think that was either Jacob Elordi or someone, bro. Someone. It was on a New York subway. It was an interview, and it was Hot Takes, the Hot Takes interview guy. And he goes up to this guy who played Elvis Presley in that movie. I forget his name, but... And he goes, embarrassment is...
Butler.
Yes, him. Embarrassment is an underexplored emotion. Go out there and make a fool of yourself. And as soon as I heard that, bro, oh my God, I just went out and I was asking questions about things I had no idea about, things I was anxious about because I was fearful of embarrassment. I'm now putting up more content because I don't care what people think. Embarrassment is such a good emotion to feel. It is so positive and so rewarding as well if we push past a certain point of I'm embarrassed. Change happens. Okay, cool. I'm in a great position now.
Yeah, staying curious. Like teaching children are the way they are because they stay curious. Like how many times do we see or hear people say, "Oh, kids say the darndest things," because they just say what comes to their mind. They say whatever they think. They also ask questions because they don't know what embarrassment is. They will just ask, "Well, why do you do that? Why is that a thing? What is that for?" Whereas like as we become adults, we shy away from that. And as you said, right, like the more you've leaned into that, the better experiences you've been able to have and the more you've been able to learn. There's a guy on Instagram, he's funnily enough, is Chris Williamson's best mate, Zach Talander. And one of the things he talks about all the time is showing up authentically will often have you looking like a fool. But that's real. That's authentic.
Yeah.
That's how you learn. That's how you grow. Keeping that childlike energy about you and all the rest of it. Like there's not a single person alive who can't sit there and say the sound of like pure children's laughter is one of the greatest sounds around. It truly is because it's just so authentic. And they just don't care. They ask the questions if they... It's funny. It's funny. Yeah. I think more people need it. I think more people need to get out of their own brains. And even as you were talking about before with like perception and, you know, you've got people who are complaining about their renovations whilst there are people who can't afford to feed their kids this week or whatever the case might be. I think one thing as well that I've learnt throughout this journey is everybody's struggle is a struggle based upon their own perception. Yeah. So the worst thing that happens to you is the worst thing that happens to you. The worst thing that happens to me is the worst thing that happens to me. And now our two worst things that have ever happened to us might be vastly different on the grand scale of things. What we experience here in Australia versus what people in the Middle East or over in all of the countries at the moment that are dealing with daily bombings and all the rest of it is vastly different. Doesn't necessarily take away from our own human experience.
Yes. Bro, I was about to say that on top of that as well, but you already got to it before me, is that just because my issues aren't necessarily objectively as big as, say, for example, someone that's dealing with war in the Middle East, it's like it's all respective to what you know as well. So it's my issue, say, for example, of... I don't like talking about... I don't know, just whatever issues I might be having and dealing with doesn't take away from what I'm feeling with or what I'm dealing with at the moment. It's still my issues and my struggles with what I know. Someone that's going in the Middle East right now that's experiencing war and experiencing that's what they know as well. And obviously, objectively, it's a lot harder to overcome and deal with because it's, you know, you're seeing trauma happen right in front of you. But I think once we understand that these are my issues and these are my troubles, I am able to overcome them at some point, great. And once you take the perspective of someone might be dealing potentially with something objectively harder than what I'm dealing with, understand that, yes, you will be able to overcome the things that you were going over with putting it into perspective of someone maybe going through that as well. So it's tricky. Obviously, me and you, we live in a first world country. Our biggest problems are what pair of shoes are we going to buy next? Or, what fuel station am I going to put my fuel in? Or, I'm not thinking about my next meal. I'm not thinking about where I'm going to sleep tonight. So putting into perspective of these are my issues, I will overcome them. These are someone else's issues that they're going to be dealing with for years to come.
Yeah. It's having, I think it's, as a human being, having enough sympathy to feel for other people. And this is another thing that I've been like sort of looking at and learning a little bit more about over the last couple of years is sympathy versus empathy. And a lot of people are very quick to say, oh, you need to be empathetic, you need to be this. It's like, well, I can't actually be empathetic because I have not experienced that situation that person's dealing with. I can feel sympathy for that person, and sympathy isn't because you feel sorry for them or whatever the case might be. Sympathy is one human to another understanding that they are going through something that's really hard right now. And as I've seen with countless human beings, is that they will overcome it. But having empathy is like obviously when you are dealing with almost an identical situation to another person. And I think that that's a really important distinction because too often people are like, oh, I know exactly what you're going through. And it's like, no, you don't know exactly what that person's going through because you haven't lived the 20, 30, 40, 50 years of their life that they've lived. You might be able to understand that people go through hard times and things aren't always easy, but not trying to downplay someone else's situation that they're going through at the moment or their human experience that they're dealing with for the sake of you trying to make yourself feel better about that is, I think, something that's really critical as well.
For sure.
So, yeah, fuck. With you've mentioned a couple of times like a few books and stuff like that, and I know one of the things that we've actually spoken about quite a few times is when you've put books up and whatnot. I'm going to put you on the spot here. I want you to hit me with let's go top 5.
Top 5?
Top 5
cool.
books, yeah.
My first one is How to Influence and Influence People.
Bang. Fucking Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie, he fully changed my life as well. Second book I'm going to say is Eat That Frog, Just Doing the Hard Thing. That was another really good and easy book to read. I'm going to put up there as well in my current position right now, I'm going to say Never Finished by David Goggins. Reason being is that it's a super easy read and you can get through it pretty quickly as well. Fourth book, Mastery by Robert Greene, one of my favorites. And then my fifth book is going to be The Body Keeps the Score by something Van der Kolk about trauma. That was another hectic book I read, bro. That was the big book.
Yeah, I like it. 5. I love it. That's fucking mint. What's next for you? What's on the agenda?
Bro, I am pushing hard on this podcast. I want to get as many people as I can on. I want to share as many stories as possible. I think I've found my obsession now. I'm staying up to 9:30, 10 o'clock, waking up at 4 o'clock to do the thing, and I'm just doing that. I've got a comp coming up in May that I'm pushing for, reps for the first time, so hopefully we're going to squat 280. Maybe even we'll get to 300, we'll see. But man, right now it's just to take a flamethrower to the candle and burn everything, and just burn everything.
Move fast and break shit.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly.
Where can people find you?
So I'm using my main Instagram at the moment, _Riley Allsop. I did have another Instagram, The Imperium Project, but now everything's just going to go onto my main Instagram. I'm going to utilize that as much as I can. I'm going to be posting a lot more about my podcast, my books that I'm reading, the ideas that I have, and really just get the message that I want out to people further, harder, faster, and, just create more self-awareness for everyone.
I love that, my man. I'll put all of Riley's details in the show notes as well, in the description, so you'll be able to find him. It'll be linked on Instagram as well. Before you go, my friend, I've got 3 questions I ask every guest. Mm-hmm. First one, what is one thing you would tell your younger self?
You'll be okay. You'll be okay. Just what you're going through right now, everyone's going through the same thing. Your battles and your demons that you have now are nothing to what you're about to face. Just stay on your path. Don't change anything and keep doing what you're doing now. Because for some reason, even though it's wrong right now, it's right for the future self.
I love it. What's your favorite animal?
A panda. I've always loved pandas.
Okay. Any reason or just like...
I don't know, bro. It's been like my favorite animal since year 4. It's like 3 years ago.
Fair enough.
Apparently.
Have you ever seen the Instagram pandas falling out of trees?
I love it. I honestly love it. It's so funny.
They're so fucking
I don't know what
funny,
it is,
bro.
bro. Pandas, it's just pandas or nothing. I don't know, bro. Just pandas.
I love it. We'll run with pandas. And the last but not least, what does strength mean to you?
Strength to me is expressing the honest work you can't show by buying.
I like that.
You're honestly just showing honest hard work. You can't buy it. You can't fabricate it. You can't change it. Strength to me is expressing all the hard work I've ever done in the gym. Yeah, that's it. That's what strength means to me.
Dude, I love that. I fucking love that. I say it all the time that, the gym, training, etc. is the one thing you can't be bought, can't be given, can't be handed down to you. You have to earn it. And I mean, even utilizing that example, like it carries weight across all aspects.
100%. I did a podcast with Chris the other day, and, as powerlifters, our goals is to be as strong as possible without killing ourselves, right? But Margaret, who's 65, whose goal is to be strong enough so she doesn't die when she falls over, strength is subjective, but the objective is to get stronger, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the overall encompassing thing of getting stronger is you got, say, for example, me, who's a powerlifter, is still celebrating the success of Margaret, who's 65. It's the same thing. So I think that's why I love strength so much as well.
Fuck yeah. Dude, I love that. Thank you very much for your time today. Thank you for the chat.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
This was exactly what I thought it would be. I fucking loved it. I love this. And as I said, for those of you who have listened, what I'll be doing is I'll put all of Riley's details in the show notes. Go give him a follow. Fucking follow along his journey. Go listen to his podcast. I can guarantee you right now that some of the conversations that are going to be coming out of there are going to probably change your perspective on a lot of things. So rip into it. And thank you very much for being here today. I will catch you all on the next one. Boom.
So sick, bro. That was incredible.